So on Wednesday nights, we work at Outreach Adolescent Treatment Facility. So this is treatment for ages 12 through 18. And the first time I ever saw John Benzo, who is the vice president of Outreach, speak, it was at a heroin task force when Phil Boyle, Senator Boyle, was bringing it all around the state. And he said he had kids in his treatment that were 12 years old injecting heroin. And I had just lost Thomas, but just to hear, what do we do to a 12-year-old to make them want to escape the world so badly? And that's what my heart always feels when we work with children, right? Like, what could possibly be driving that in them? Certainly trauma. I also feel as preventative medicine, how do you show up as a parent when you come home? Do you come home from work and say, I need a drink, I had a really bad day? And your 8-year-old is watching you and your spouse have a drink to solve your problems. So when you find out that the average age of onset for a boy is 10 years old and for a girl is 11, is it surprising? Because their hero comes home and that's the solution to the problem. And also, in today's world, the world moves very quickly. And parents will often say, that's not a problem. You should only know what a problem is. Or, you know, when a child hears that, but this is the biggest thing in their life right now, but it's not a big deal, so I better get over it. You know, there's a lot there, like what is actually going on. They have no idea what's going on. A 12-year-old smoking a cigarette, a 12-year-old even smoking a joint, a 12-year-old taking a sip of beer, that's curiosity. A 12-year-old shooting up heroin is not doing that by themselves. That is a disease that is so far progressed that you have a real big problem. It's very interesting. I just heard this the other day. Adolescent is the gateway to drugs. I was like, wow, yeah, pretty much. These kids are dealing with so much in today's world that just comes at them in such a fast pace.
Yeah.
I think that COVID exacerbated mental health issues in children.
Absolutely.
To an extent we still haven't unraveled.
I think that what I'm seeing is, like, you know, all the social media interferes with that, right? There's so many ways, like, since we started working with the youth, we hear so many stories of, like, Instagram and
Snapchat is the big
TikTok,
one.
But I'm saying, like, all these outlets to get drugs that come right to your house, and I'm like, it's just really understandable how parents can be they feel so helpless, and then they think that discipline is the way that it's going to be handled. I'm going to make you do that. But they don't understand these drugs are like, I feel they're designed, they think, we all know that they're designed to create addiction in you, and hidden to that's
almost
already
immediate.
Right, so it's already instilled, right, in the genetics, but then on top of that, these drugs are like immediate. Like somebody took it one time and they want to do it again. And it's just so scary, and then what do you do with that?
As far as that goes, if you really investigate McDonald's puts so much sugar in their French fries that it makes it addictive. So
yeah, and they could be just as dangerous too, right? Food is an addiction too.
Food is an addiction too.
Right.
Gambling, all the gambling games that are on phones now. So we have a huge gambling problem with youth, coupled with drugs, alcohol, and they love hallucinogenics.
Mm-hmm. But you know what we're dealing with there is, you know, they deal with the youth. We're dealing with their families that are like scared to death, because the reality of it is death is real with these addictions. Death is real. And so it's hard to get them to see, how do we support our loved one when this is looming over us, right? So we will come in and tell, and not tell them things, but give them some suggestions and some perspectives, but they're emotionally tied to that narrative, that one narrative, that my child, if I kick them out, which is it doesn't start off in a conversation, kick your child out, but people go to that immediately because I believe that's a societal thing. The societal thing
Yes.
is if you have a problem, you either go send them somewhere to get it fixed or you throw them away.
Yeah.
That's not realistic. That's not what happens. We have to put time, we have to put investment, we have to put effort into it, and we also have to put in to knowing, like, I cannot fix it.
They really can't throw their children out.
But they do. But they'll say that, right?
Yes,
they'll
they
say
will
that.
say that.
Like somebody will say, you go put them in a facility. That's not really true. Eventually they're going to come out. But this is what
Absolutely.
people are left with options, right? But we see that the parents who are coming there, they're making such an impact on their child, right? Because we hear from the circle around it.
You can even go back to open school night. If you came to school and you didn't have a note in your desk from your parent, you felt bad, right? All parents came and you were so proud that your parent came. So when their parents show up for parent support night, they're so happy that their parent is taking an active look, And I mean, we actually had one participant that did not believe in any of it. Not my problem. I've never done this. Why do I have to come here for her therapy? I don't need this. This is not. And it took quite a few months for him to really come around to saying, I have a big part in my daughter's recovery.
Right. A big transformation happened.
Yeah, big transformation happened. And he realized that he had never hugged his daughter in her life. He made mention of giving a side hug, but then he said, wow, I have never connected with her like that.
Yeah.
Wow. How do you feel as a child? Parents don't think about the other side of that sometimes.
Right.
But we have some kids that are very challenged with their parents too. Let's put it that way. When we have young people struggling with substance use, and I always ask the parent, well, how long have they been using? Oh, I think like 6 months. I go, well, I'm going to tell you that they were probably 14 or 15 when they started. Oh, I would have known. No, you wouldn't have. No, you wouldn't have. I go, were they isolating? Yes, but that was just, they were teenagers. I go, no, it's not always being a teenager. Mm-hmm. It's not always that. That it's not, you can't cover all ailments with, that's just them being a teenager. You have to sit down. It takes a lot of time and energy to get someone to admit to that.
You're being outwitted by your child at one point.
Oh, 1,000% you're outwitted by your child in more ways than one. And, I will speak for myself. You so want to believe your child. Mm-hmm. Right. You so want to believe them. And then I remembered when I was growing up and my parents never believed. You really had to prove it. And not in a bad way, but there's that side of it too. Why should I believe them? And why not your child? Everyone says, why my child? Why not your child? They're out in the world. And if you don't educate them and empower them and speak to them about all the things that could be happening, don't be surprised when they come to you or are afraid to come to you. When I do work with prevention, do you have a plan with your child when they're going out? So, if they're 14, 15 years old, they should have a good friend that they're going to a party with. And when either one of them want to leave, they can blame it on the other one. Or there should be a code that they could text to you that says, it just means call me and say that you have to come and pick me up. Something happened at home. You have to give them that out because the peer pressure of staying there is so great for them, they don't know how to escape.
Yeah.
So, but these are active conversations that you can't be afraid to have with them. And I think that's what parents find most difficult. And unfortunately, too, there's a lot of parents that smoke cannabis. So do as I say, not as I do. And I absolutely just love the parents that say, well, they're going to drink anyway, so I'm going to let them drink in my basement. Said no one ever that didn't want to be sued. I don't even know in this day and age how you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, and I'll go back to when my kids played sports. My son was a wrestler. How many people would the fathers would say, come outside, Linda, we'll go for a walk while they were on a break. And they had a keg in the back of their truck. And I'm like, you will never, I'm thinking to myself, you will never drive my kid home from a practice, from a meet, from anything. It's mind-boggling to me. But when you teach children that as a student athlete, that if you do 2 weeks of peak performance training, that one night of drinking deleted those 2 weeks of peak performance gains, a kid will listen to you. They go, what do you mean? Because they don't want to give up their gains because they have a goal in mind. So you need to empower them with education. And when you do that, you end up with a different result. But if you're afraid to have the conversation, that's the very conversation you must have. You cannot be afraid. You can't step back from those conversations.
Yeah, you can't be afraid of those conversations. And I think that that's what we're finding out as we work with more of the youth parenting, the parents, that they, first of all, there's stigmas that's really, really, really
Yes.
deep, and that they feel very judged. They feel their parenting is judged, right? Because it doesn't only come, me being...
What did I do wrong?
Right. A child of someone who struggled with addiction and then succumbed to it, everything wasn't on my dad.
Right.
I had to find myself through this, right? So I do understand when we're sitting there that it's but the outside was you're that child. That was your parent. So I think about it and I go, well, as a parent, now I'm struggling with my child, and it's you're the parent of that child. And it's
I experienced that.
And that's what I'm saying. So I'm but I make it digestible to myself so that I can sit in that place of saying to someone, but you can't worry about the outside sources. You have to worry about what's going on. What do you want to do for your child, right? So how does that look? How do you want to change it? How do you want to reframe it? And if you're afraid to have that conversation with your child, or you're afraid to put in some boundaries, then things are never going to change. Then they're always going to be.
The funniest part is that anyone that would criticize and judge a family going through something as egregious as substance use disorder, with all of that going on, they are not your friends anyway. And I wouldn't give a damn what they had to say, because their house is probably on fire anyway if they have time to point at me.
And you know what, Linda? I believe you are so correct. But here's the thing: is people are creatures of they want to have connection, so they won't believe that the other person's house is on fire. They'll just be like, I want them to like me because there's a deficit in them, right? That they're
100%.
carrying, that then passing on to their child, not meaning to.
Thomas, I was class mom, PTA mom, coach lacrosse, Girl Scout leader, Boy Scout leader, religion teacher, all of that. When Thomas started to have problems, we became that family. All the kids were always at my house. Don't go to that house anymore. Ironically, when I started to do a lot of speaking, I got to go to my community and tell my community, if Thomas had had cancer or any other disease, I would have had spaghetti dinners coming out my ass, and this community dropped me. And there were people openly weeping, and I said, shame on all of you for not reaching out, because I could have used help getting the other two to different events and whatever, and maybe I needed support, but you turned your back on me. And how many kids, you're all here to learn about prevention and substance use tonight. So realistically, and I asked them, how many people are struggling with substance use disorder? And I said, you cannot raise your hand and I'll know that you're lying anyway. So who are you lying to? Not me. And they all reluctantly raised their hands, and they all, I go, it's a little late to be sorry, but I'm right here to help you get through this now. But remember it for the next person that comes along.
That is really powerful. Those are
Yes.
powerful words. And to think about when you say that you want to be you want your organization to be what you did not have and you and Thomas did not have, that gives it so much more power, so much more impact. And I am so grateful that you just shared that.
Yeah, no, it was terrible. It really was. It was awful to see people. We had a basketball court in the backyard, and the all-American Thomas, now all of a sudden he was the pariah. And I was like, oh my, these people are awful.
Yep. And I love that you said that if they would have had some kind of health issue, which it is a health issue, but not in the way people look at it.
They
would have all of a sudden wanted to have fundraisers, do all these things.
Fundraisers, the food train, and all of that.
Right.
And I know what would have happened.
So that's what we sit with when we're with these parents that are, they think like, it's my child. Like, who am I to speak about this? Like, my child has a choice. It's only a choice.
Your child had one choice.
Exactly.
And they made one really bad choice that ignited a disease in their brain. And you can't go back to that day.
Exactly.
Now you have to deal with where we're at.
But how many times do we sit in those circles that I believe we provide this environment, right, so that they feel safe? And how many people feel better about themselves? They come in and they're like, I'm a horrible parent. I should have done this. I should have done this. And I'm like, well, here's the one thing that, yeah, there might have been dysfunction in your family, but your child also lives outside of your house, meaning they go to school, they have friends, they have pressures, they have all these things, and you're just taking it all on. It's not just you. It's everything together. So why don't we change some of the dynamics? Because when you start teaching your children, you role model it, then they will start doing it too. And sometimes people want to say, because I love them, but love can do the tough stuff too. Love can turn around and be like,
love them tough.
Right. But love can do that tough stuff. Love can say, no, I can't, you can't do this. No, this is what I need from you in this house. This is the environment we want to create. This is how we would like to live.
Well, when we discuss boundaries, especially with adolescent parents, I did that whole form for them. Boundaries equal love. You put your baby in a playpen, that was a boundary. You could take a shower and you knew they wouldn't get hurt. So why would you not put a boundary in place for them now? It's for you to live better too.
Absolutely, yep.
It's your safe space. And the other children that live in the house, the whole 9 yards. Are they going to like the boundaries? No. And that's too bad. And
what do we often hear when they go into the adolescent facility is, I can breathe.
Yes.
That is like a resounding over and over. I feel like I can breathe. I've slept the night.
That goes with anyone that their loved one goes to treatment.
Exactly.
That's the first night that they really get any rest, that they know that they're safe, that they're confined, and for the moment, they're okay, right? Family and friends are telling them their kid has a problem, and they don't believe them.
Correct.
Well, denial is a huge part of substance use disorder, and parents do not want to see what could possibly be going on, because then they have to admit that they have a problem. And denial is probably
the strongest
thing that allows a fatal progressive disease to continue.
But it also could be the way they're framing it. We have to reframe it. If you're coming in judgmental where they already feel judged, they're not going to listen to you. So I think that if you want to approach that kind of conversation with a loved one, that's a really important conversation. Like, get some support before you have that conversation. Go to people like, come here to Thomas's Hope.
Come here, we would help.
Right.
What words would I use? How would I frame this? Would you come with me? Because there is always a better way. It's always in the presentation for anything in life. The way you serve a meal, the way you watch TV or a movie, it's always in the presentation. So that's why we work so hard on communication, because it's not always what you say, it's how you say it. So there's always a better way to say things.
Right.
And when we teach family members to come from the I feel, this is how I feel. So because as soon as you start with you should, ears closed, brains are off, not listening to another word you say. I feel hurt, I feel disconnected, I feel not safe to come home to my own house, and things have to change here. Then, what do you mean you don't feel safe to come home to your own house? Yes, behaviors must change here. Not going to tolerate this anymore. Then things can change. Then, are you actually, people always say, I'm never going to throw them out. I go, if you create a healthy boundary with consequences and someone can't maintain that healthy contract, then who's throwing who out? They are choosing not to follow the outline for how everyone in the house is living. So whose choice is it? You're not doing anything to them. They've already done this to themselves, right? They already have a disease, and you are living in their world. And when that changes, then things can change.
Absolutely. You let them deal with their natural consequences.
Yeah.
And that's not always easy for the family members and loved ones. They don't want to watch, because we're actually filling some kind of void in ourselves, right? I have an inability to watch my loved one suffer. So I'm going to do this. Well, I'm going to step in. I'm going to be the solution. And what are you taking away? You're, as you say, right, you're disabling them they're not allowed to go through their own natural consequences because you're too busy putting the Band-Aids on, tying up everything in a bow. They need to feel that. This is what my behavior is doing to me. This is what my behavior has taken.
Yeah.
Well, look at my life, you do the pros and cons. For it's a very small window that it's a benefit that you're using. Now it's created a whole life of destruction of patterns that how is this affecting me and why I should stop taking it. But if you fix it, if you sugarcoat everything and you are always taking the blame for everything, they don't get to see that list.
They also don't get to see, right? When you constantly do things for your loved one that they can do for themselves, you are telling them, I don't believe you can accomplish this, so let me take care of it. I'm going to just do it. You're not capable. And you cement that thought process into their brain.
Absolutely. There's a lot of things. So that's why you have to the family really needs to get their own support, because there's a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different distortions in there from the way we grew up, right? A lot of us just carried that here, and then we're trying to look through these cloudy lens to kind of deal with this problem. And there's a lot of good stuff here for you to learn. So just slow down. Let all those emotions, because they're carrying a lot, right? That we talked about yesterday about introducing the caring and the carrying, right? With Jen, right? What Jen started. That's beautiful, because that's what it is. We've gone from caring to carrying a lot of things that we don't need to carry. When
you carry somebody else's, all their problems, the solutions, you cannot be the solution to anybody else's problem.
Absolutely.
So, what's in my circle, what can I control? Me. That's it. Me and how I'm going to respond to everything else.
Absolutely.
Father Frank from Hope House Ministries tells the parents that he works with right away, if your loved one steals from you and you don't call the police, do not call me. That's the boundary that he keeps, because How can, if anyone else robbed from you, would you call the police? But how many times have we, I didn't want to do that to them. They stole $1,000 from your checking account and you don't want to do that to them? They took your rent money?
Yeah.
How can we just unwind that for a second? And would you do that? You're doing that for them. That is a natural consequence that can stop jail, can stop substance use. It's jail, treatment, or death. Or jail, recovery, or death. That's
Right.
the three outs for substance use disorder.
And of course, you don't want to see your loved one in any of those places. Definitely not
But-
death. But you have to, if they start to see, like, I don't like my life, I got to do something about it. I got to do something different.
We had that, well, she's not that young, right? That woman that came out of jail and is on a tear. Jail did not teach her too much. We need to tell everyone, anyone that needs any help with anything to do with substance use disorder, mental health issues, housing, vocational, anything that you could think of, feel free to reach out to us. You can reach us at 631-824-4703. Our website is thomashopes.org. So THOMASHOPES.org. You'll find a calendar of events and anything you need. Please don't hesitate to contact us. We certainly will give you resources if we can help you personally ourselves. Anything you want to add?
The only thing I would like to say is this journey is not to be walked alone. So please give us a call and let us be there for you.
Yes, so that's what I always like to say, right? It's exactly what I wished I had when I was walking this road, and it's exactly what I wished my son had walking his disease. So we're right here. Ask for help.